Welcome to the episode 6 of Aftermarket Intelligence Unlocked. I'm Petchiraj Piramuthu, Head of Data and AI at Tavant. It's great to have you with us. Every month, we bring in industry leaders to share with what's changing, what's working, and what's next in the aftermarket space. Thanks for spending the next 30 minutes with us. Quick note before we start. This session is recorded. You'll get a replay, and we love questions. So just drop them into Q&A anytime. Today's conversation is all about moving from firefighting problems after they happen to preventing them before they spread. We'll show how AI pulls together IoT data, service logs, transcripts, images, and warranty claims. So the issue surfaces earlier. Technicians, managers, and the quality team, get to know the next move. The companies protect both margins and customer trust. I'm excited to join by Tony Gondick, Senior Manager of IT Business Strategy at Kawasaki Motors Corp, USA. Tony has been in the IT leadership for 3 decades, and over the last 7 years, he has played a key role in transforming Kawasaki Engines USA through a truly customer-centric organizations. For those new here, I lead data and AI manufacturing at Tavant. My focus is helping manufacturers unlock transformational outcomes with TMAP platform. So let's get into it. Tony, over to you.
All right, thanks, Petchy. I'm excited to be here and to talk about how AI can help different businesses with their challenges and create more of a proactive approach to doing business instead of reactive. So as we take a look at the current state for businesses today, and I believe that these items affect all levels of different businesses across different industries, not just specifically to manufacturing. Even though that's my background, I think all of these topics can be applied to service industries, to manufacturing, to every industry in between. And as we look at what really impacts the business, from a challenge perspective, businesses will find that the more silos that they have existing, the more walls that teams build up around themselves, the more separated their data becomes. Data can be scattered across different systems. It can be in different formats. It can have different versions and varieties. And without a centralized database, that data becomes almost unusable to the organization as a whole, but each team has a specific need for that data. And as you add staffing constraints into that, time is a very limited commodity for businesses. The smaller teams that you have to operate with, having the time available for every customer interaction and every business process and workflow can be very limited because there's not enough time in the day to get all of the work done. And what that causes is people to speed up and to try to get as much work done possible in the 8 hours that they're at the office. And so human error introduces a lot of issues for businesses. It introduces the gaps and the inconsistencies in data. Values can be changed and not detected early enough. And so as you look at how do we use that data for making business decisions, those trends can go unnoticed because the data is separated into so many different buckets and categories and across so many different teams. And as a result of that, if the trending is not consistent, if you can't see it, then you have to react to an event because someone else will determine what that trend is. And so that reactive response then means that the businesses lose control over that event with their product, with their service, and it becomes a very costly impact to the organization as a whole. Because rather than maintaining control over the event, maintaining control over the messaging and the response, and how you react to that, you are forced to react in a more quicker manner because there might be some federal regulation or local regulation that you have to accommodate for. And that can become very costly then for a business to maintain its bottom line. And as we look at the impacts then of that situation, brand damage and loss of customer trust, the reputation that your business has to your customers can be severely damaged by that. And it can take a very long time to restore the image of trust that your customers have in your company. That can lead to poor customer service interactions. As customers call in desiring help, your customer interactions there might be seen as a negative experience and driving more customers away. As we know, the more customers that don't do business with you or with your company, you're going to miss sales opportunities. You're going to see a reduction in revenue. And all of that can lead to escalating warranty or support costs, loss of product sales, extra inventory in your warehouses. All of that can escalate. So really what businesses need then is a way to have a proactive model to analyze, do trending analysis of large complex data sets. And what do we mean by those data sets? Well, those can be all of your customer interactions. It can be all of your customer phone calls that come in. What is the sentiment of your customer phone calls? What are all the claims, warranty claims that are being filed against your products? How do we extract information out of those? What about on-site visits and visit reports that your teams do in the field? What about the trouble tickets or cases that might be logged by your customers? All of those are valuable insights and data sets that can be used to be more proactive in your approach to events of this nature. And the earlier identification of those trends, of the anomalies, of potential recalls or service campaigns, the more you can control that event and control the costs associated with it. Even better, the technology that exists today, we can automate a lot of the alerts. We can automate a lot of the artificial intelligent trending that is there. And we can empower teams to have a faster data-driven decision about acting upon an event before it hits social media, before it hits a news cycle, before it hits a consumer protection board announcement. The more that you can control that messaging, the more that you can automate and empower teams to make decisions, the faster you can respond. And so the closing comment on this slide, that data analysis and automation are completely essential for businesses to be able to respond to those events quickly, prevent the risk associated with that event, and ultimately protect your business outcomes. And I would go further to say protect your brand reputation, protect your company's reputation, leading towards a normalization of sales or even an increase in sales, because customers are looking at how you respond to an event. And if they approve of that response, they will remain trusted customers. They will maintain a trust in your company and they will continue to buy products from you. And so as we take a look at the next slide image, businesses really need to ask themselves, which is better? As I was thinking about this topic and asking AI to generate different images for this, the image on the left is what AI considers a cohesive team, dealing with a lot of different data sets, in control of the situation, in control of the event, versus a team that is responding more, reacting more to a chaotic event, reacting to a lot of the different impacts, inputs, outputs of that event. And so I find it kind of humorous, the huge disparity between the two images. Obviously, more companies want to be seen as that image on the left, where that cohesiveness is there. They are happy. They have lots of data. Everything is stacked nicely, organized, and they're able to proactively address the event versus the more chaotic nature is seen on the right. And so as we continue on with this conversation, I will remind folks, survey poll questions will be popping up on the screen, and we'll ask you to take a look at those and answer those if you will. But Petchy, I'm curious about your thoughts on AI solutions and taking us into a deeper dive.
Thanks, Tony, for the wonderful explanation on the previous couple of slides. As you rightly mentioned, the data analysis is an important step that we need to first consider when we talk about all the different data sources. We talk about the IoT data, error events, customer call logs, comes in audio file, and somebody is transcribing this, or you have customer interactions between the call center and the customer. There are some conversations going on. After that, the technician is visiting the site, fixing those issues. The technician is writing and putting their notes on the data set. After that, if it is eligible, then you also get the claims data. Now, if we look at the data lifecycle, we are talking about 6 or 7 touch points, the system, has to do. So to do this, obviously the data quality has to be right. So we apply a specific data enrichment rules, enrichment capabilities on the data, and then combine in this all these data sources that I talked about it, and make a semantic enrichment. That's what we call. So there is a specific model and an algorithm which cleans this data and makes this data to be available for the next steps. The next step here is, a little more important step. I'll get into more important step, on the workflow side. Once the data is combined and cleaned, we create the failure clusters. The failure clusters essentially getting created by your product type, by the nature of the complaints that what is coming out from these rich text format, and what was really seen from the videos and then images and audio files. Essentially, whatever the customer is calling, and tagging everything, creating clusters by your product, by your causal part, by your the issues, and then what is the impact on those clusters? Is it a smaller issue, or is it a bigger issue? Is it a brand related issues that you talked about it? Does it relate to earlier recalls that we planned? So we try to categorize these clusters into different buckets. That's where the AI workflow starts. That's where you start with detect, investigate, resolve, and complete sections. The first 2 sections are really important. Depends on your severity, depends on your priority. Obviously, that knowledge has to come from the data, come from the industry leaders like you, which will essentially classify whether this is belongs to a detect bucket, or this is a serious issues that immediately from an R&D side or a engineering side, somebody has to look at it. So based on that, these clusters will get assigned. More importantly, we are also bringing in the UI, a human UI, essentially into this loop. The human will understand and provide their insights so that the AI does not automatically take its own decision and start learning this. The human is intervening and providing the first level insights into this, and then start assigning this into the dedicated departments. For example, one issue, if this belongs to an infotainment, let it go to an infotainment in R&D division. If there is another issue that belongs to batteries, then it goes to the R&D for battery divisions. If it belongs to a supplier, it goes to a supplier queue for them to resolve and look at it. So essentially, the human is playing an important role when it comes to analyzing these data points. Then the important part here is the predictive scoring. So once the data is created, we keep monitoring the incoming data. We don't immediately, classify saying, hey, this is a potential issue that, you need to look at it. We consistently monitor this data, and, is the trend is increasing? What is the predictive score that is likely to convert from detect to investigate? What is currently happening on the social media about this issue? Is anybody is talking about this issue? Or, do we hear similar issue from different regions, even though there are tickets are not logged? How do I reach out to technicians who are hearing from the field on what are they really talking about it? All these things create a priority, and that creates the predictive scoring. The predictive scoring provides you a visibility in terms of how long this resolve issues going to take to resolve, and what is the root cause. Essentially, it's going to drive this. That's the root cause analysis also provided. Here is another data set that is required. One of the data set is earlier your 8D functions, however you have done and classified and how you solve those issues. We take that as an input and combine that input and provide the root cause insights for the QA team, quality team to take a look at this. And then the last one, we provide this functionality to our partners and dealers in terms of providing the right codes. We understand the codes are really important when they are filing the claims, when the dealers are filing their claims and the distributors are filing the claims. Most often, they choose the first or second, the drop downs from the codes. And the codes are really important. If somebody is working in the QA department, they know that. So what we do is we look at the technician narratives, we look at what the warranty administrator is putting those comments, and we give the relevant code, the quality code, symptom code, and remedy codes while they are entering the claims. So automatically it creates and fixes the data quality issues when the claims are getting created. That's another additional functionality that we provide. So combining all the workflows and the data signals, we provide the faster issue identifications. So in terms of providing those clusters, and then the root cause analysis, why it has happened, what is the impact, and how big this impact could become, and what is your brand reputation. If somebody is talking online in the social media about your brand, is there an impact here? So those are all the things that we provide part of the AI solutions. Yeah, as Tony mentioned, there are survey and polls that are currently happening, and feel free to post your questions. If there are any technical deep questions that needs my attention, obviously, we'll try to take it and address it during the question and answer. If you want me to address it towards a private one-on-one sessions, please let me know. So yeah, so that's my take, Tony, on the AI solution side. I wanted to hear your thoughts around what is the outcome, from the implementation that, was done so far from Tavant's standpoint. I'm happy to, hear from you.
Oh, certainly. And I'm happy to share those. And I can already hear some of the attendees saying, this is a great roadmap. This is a great plan. How do I get started in that? And what is the outcome? What could I reasonably expect to happen if I follow this particular mapping? And so when we approach this at Kawasaki and within the engines division, we wanted to do better. We wanted to make sure that we were more proactive in helping our customers recover from these events or addressing these events before they became costly. And so we broke out these outcomes into internal and external outcomes. These were some of the results of what happened after we've applied automation and data-centric activities to all of our customer interactions. Addressing those that are on the left first, the internal outcomes, the results that we saw was a consistent approach in handling of these events, of this data, by centralizing all of the data sources and making sure that we eliminated the walls and the silos around the data, that we were all operating from the same set of data. We finally had a consistent approach in understanding that data. What was the data telling us? And by applying automation and a consistency of approach to handling these data sources specific to our claims, we saw more than 83% auto-approved by a rule-based engine. In fact, in calendar year 24, we were able to process by volume over 98,000 claims. I mean, that's a huge win using automation rather than trying to staff teams to manually process those claims. With the lower claim rates, the fewer recalls and service campaigns, that leads to a reduction of rework and a lower total cost of ownership for those products. We've been able to maintain a flat headcount because even though the work is increasing, more automation is available to handle that increase in quantity. And best of all, we were able to bring together all of these different business teams. And as I said, reduce the silos, reduce the walls between the teams. So we're able to bring in R&D and designers and engineering teams, quality and tech support to operate off of that centralized data and to be able to make product improvement decisions off of that similar data, that same data sources. And so that leads then to those external outcomes. We are audit ready. We are prepared for our on-site visits. If we need to produce reports for any type of governmental regulations, we are ready to do that. We have the data sources and the reporting engines available to get those audits completed. Our field service advisors, our in-field staff are prepared for the potential questions or interactions with the customers when they do those site surveys, because they can see the full view of that customer based on warranty claims filed and cases filed, on customer sentiment from phone calls. As a result of all of those activities, we've seen our end user customer satisfaction scores improve from a 30 percentile to an 83 percentile. And year over year, we continue to see that customers are pleased with the way that we approach their business, approach their sales, approach them as customers. And so our claims cycle time has been cut from weeks to hours. When you take a look at the sheer number of claims, tens of thousands of claims, almost 100,000 claims in a single year, when we take a look at bulk automation and trending analysis, that cycle time from start to finish has been cut. And that leads to more time for our teams to deal with the more high-touch customers, with the more complex issues of the day. And we're able to focus more time on those situations. And that then leads to stronger brand reputation, higher customer satisfaction, more proactive approaches to the situations and the trends that are there. And touching on the prior slide then, Petchy, as we talk about that human in the middle, we're allowing the computer, we're allowing the AI and the trending analysis to develop a outcome and to tell us there might be a situation here. But it's ultimately up to the human in the middle, that team reviewing the results, to make a final decision. So we're not completely automating, we're not completely having a hands-off approach to this and just allowing AI to generate some type of response and reaction to an event. We are actually involved in that and evaluating each and every time, making the AI smarter in its trending analysis, grading its responses, and making sure that we can decide whether or not we want to approach that. So with that, everything becomes smarter. The teams become faster. The customer, as an end result, is the ultimate winner in that outcome because they are buying from a company they trust. They are buying a high quality product, and they know that the company they are buying from stands behind that because the brand reputation and the quality of the product continues to be a driver into their buying habits. And so now we have a foundation built for AI and automation to help us be better companies, to increase our interactions with our customers.
Wonderful,
So,
Tony.
yep.
Wonderful, wonderful to hear the internal and external outcomes. And what is AI is really driving Kawasaki engines, in terms of setting the right foundations at this moment. Thank you.
Yes.
Uh, Sorry, go ahead. I mean, if you
Well,
wanted
no,
to.
I believe that we've got some questions that have popped up in the
Yeah,
session.
exactly.
We've got
Yeah,
a few
so
minutes left.
yeah, I think we have a few questions that came up. Probably let me take a few questions and see how do we answer these. The first question is, what is the practical first step for a manufacturer to get started with early warning anomaly detection? And how do you scope a quick win pilot? So maybe Tony wanted to start something and then I can just add on to this.
Yeah, certainly. And so at Kawasaki, we had to look at and rank what are our interactions with our customers? What would get the most value from a trending analysis? And so we took a look at all of our call logs. We took a look at all of the cases, the ticket types, the claims that were coming in for warranty repairs. And those were the right level of interactions with our customers. Those graded higher in value to start with, and then finding a thought leader like Tavant to help us build out a learning model that would understand customer sentiment from a transcribed phone call, that could understand the freeform text that Petchy was talking about in cases and claims, and be able to understand that and trend and analyze that was important. So that's where we got started, was first identifying the high value targets, and then secondly, also cleaning up the data. Without clean data, you're going to inject bias into your AI model. So having consistent data and clean data is just as important as finding those high value data sources. Petchy, thoughts?
Yeah, that's a very valid point, Tony. So when we started off the engagement, I'll talk about how do you scope the quick win in that context. We took probably like a year worth of data. We just try to limit the data size. And we said, okay, let's identify, the clusters and let's prioritize only the detect and investigate buckets and see how the model is, really proving this out with the 1 year data. So while doing this, we were able to show the business that what are the different trends and clusters that are getting created from the unstructured data that we talked about it. At the same time, getting the acceptance from the business and validate these results with the business saying, hey, this is what we are seeing. Are you seeing, are you hearing from your engineers, from your claims? Is that what it is? So once we got the feedback, then we got a confidence that yes, our model is working, our model is able to get the right values, the right clusters in place. So that's how we started. That's our quick win there. Obviously, we have a long roadmap to go on this. As Tony mentioned, there is a basic foundation at set. Now we need to improve ourselves on the predictive scoring and adding additional data insight into this, and then providing this tool to different department. How do we share this to a field service team, tech support team? How do we give this team back to the entire aftermarket team so that this tool can become a base tool for identifying any early warning, any anomalies that are currently happening in the market. So that's how we start, and that's how we lay out the roadmap. There is a couple of more interesting questions, and let's see how much we are able to get this. The second question I wanted to take this here is, if our data is messy, how do we get to it good enough so that we can trust our outputs? How do we make sure that the data is good enough. So Tony, maybe you wanted to start, and then probably I can add from an enrichment standpoint.
Yeah, that's going to be subjective to the company. What we determined was we needed to have a certain threshold of accuracy. Once we had that set threshold, working with the business teams and with the technical teams and IT teams, we had to get consensus and agreement on that. Then we started to go through the data and see where it aligned with that threshold. And as Petchy had mentioned, with the year's worth of data, we ran it through the model to see what the outcome and the result was going to be. Now, thankfully, we had another event that we could compare it to. We already knew of a service campaign, and we used that as a base model. If the data was accurate, and if the learning model within AI was accurate in its trending analysis, we should see this other event, this actual event, as an end result. And so by doing that, by measuring against a known result and seeing what the AI came up with and cleaning up the data, we were able to have accuracy in those results and make sure that we met the specific threshold that the business teams were looking for. And as we continue to talk about this, I mean, each new event is going to add a new dimension. It's going to add a new measurement that we're going to need to build into the learning model. So every new event will be used to train the model, to make it better, to make it smarter, and to make it more accurate. We would love to have 100% accuracy, but when you're dealing with so much free-form text and customer sentiment analysis, you're never going to get 100. But as a company, you have to determine, where is our comfort level? Is it 80%, 85, 90, 95, 99.9? Only a company and the business teams can identify that. And then that will be your goal to shoot for.
Wonderful, wonderful insights, Tony, again. And by the time, I think that now we are up on the time. And thank you, everybody, for attending the sessions. And thank you, Tony, for your valuable insights today. Yeah, you'll receive an email link with recording on further updates. We look forward to you seeing in episode 7. Thank you again, everybody. You all have a wonderful day.